And as I mentioned at the beginning, we have 4 guests with us, so I will introduce them one at a time. First, I would like to introduce Christine Triggs, who was an Occupational Health and Safety 2-year Fast Track alumni from Toronto Transit Commission. Christine?
Good evening. I graduated in 2002, and in that time I have had 3 positions in health and safety. Shortly after graduating from the program, but within 3 weeks, I had a job with a small consulting firm in Ajax, and that lasted for about 2.5 years, and it was a great experience because it gave me a broad spectrum of experience in different industries. From there, I went on to work at Cadbury as their environment and health and safety leader. And that was a plant experience, but and that gave me the internal health and safety experience I was looking for. After working at Cadbury, I have now moved on to the Toronto Transit Commission as a EHS analyst. I've been there for 3 years. And I have to say that working at the Toronto Transit Commission is an engaging experience. We're in the health and safety department of 45 people. We have everything from industrial hygienists, environmental advisors, fire prevention specialists, and general safety specialists, or general safety professionals. And what my particular group is the corporate group, and I work with developing corporate policy and programs, and reviewing the management system in terms of environmental health and safety. And as I said, TTC is a really engaging environment in order to do health and safety, practice health and safety. It is an employer of 13,000 employees. They work across many areas across the city and on the system. It is an employer that is in the public eye and in the news, I say on a daily basis, sometimes good, sometimes bad. The risks that we're exposed to I think, are unique. There are the majority of our employees, they work alone and in the system and dealing with the public on a daily basis. And so that we have workplace violence as an important risk that we need to manage. And then we also have unique work environments, such as working at track level. I'd say the subway environment is very hazardous, and especially maintaining the system, we only have a 3-hour window on a daily basis in order to maintain that system. How did Ryerson prepare me for this? I think you gave me a strong foundation in order to start my career and from which to build onto. And you gave me an understanding of safety management principles. You introduced me to the different disciplines of health and safety. You introduced me to different health and safety sectors. And from there, I had a good basis to start from. But the thing is, I think with health and safety, it is a profession that it's very diverse, and you have to continually learn. And from this point on, I think that I encourage you that when you start out a job, that to be a good health and safety person, you have to continually learn. And I encourage you to think of it as you start as your career. It is continual education. So good luck when you start in your careers. And I have to say that it's the best choice ever made.
Our second guest this evening is Tula De Clemente, a public health 2-year fast track alum from Peel Public Health. Tula?
That's quite the walk up to the front there. Thanks for having me here today. Good evening, everybody. I graduated from Ryerson 2004. So I've been out in the field for about 6 years. Graduated 2004, did my practicum in Toronto Public Health. Stayed there as an uncertified inspector until the end of the year, and then got hired with the Region of Peel in February. So I've been there, and I was initially hired as a infection control communicable disease inspector, And our main role there was actually vaccine cold chain inspection, which was something that, you know, I never heard of through Ryerson, but you know, PSS was on the back burner. We were doing PSS inspections. Finally, the program kind of picked up, and now we actually have our own infection prevention and control team. So we do institutional food inspections. We'll do the child care centers. We'll do long-term care centers. We'll do infection control in the child care center inspections. We will investigate enteric communicable disease, reportable diseases that come through the region. And of course, with the region of Peel being a very diverse, multicultural region, we often see a lot of, you know, your salmonella typhus come through. So that is a great experience for anyone to have. And then we also do routine personal service settings inspections, which is quite the experience, I might say. So coming to Ryerson was actually a little bit of an accident for me. I did my first degree in political science at York University and felt that, you know, I needed to specialize in something a little bit more. So I went on Ryerson University's website, public health and safety. That sounds really, really interesting. I applied. Little do you know, it's a 2-year fast track program. Bonus, right? 2 years, I can do another 2 years. You know, do field training, certify, get my orals. So, and you know, the experience at Ryerson was like unlike any other, you know, didn't compare to York University. I met great people, great faculty. And like Christine said, you know, they created the basis and foundation for our careers. I still have my food pathogens, my infection control notes in my overhead cabinet, in my workspace, my little cubicle. So yeah, it's there as a reference tool. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experiences, and oftentimes I speak, and a lot of the experiences I speak to are graphic in nature, right, because we talk about infections, and I present to cosmetology high school classes, so we have pictures of infections, and ear infections, toe infections, right? So the thing with personal services settings is, especially amongst the high school students, they're piercing themselves, right? Safety pins, sewing needles. So we hear about all these experiences. We hear about kids purchasing tattoo machines on the on internet for $100 and tattooing kids in the parking lot. You know, so it's quite, yeah, it's quite the tales that I hear. And I actually had one teacher tell me once that her friend, and it's going to be a little bit graphic, but she got genital herpes under her arms after a waxing procedure, right? It's totally possible because that waxing pot is not hot enough to kill bacteria, right? So, you know, there's a reason why we're out there and why we're inspecting, and we have complaints about people getting infections after a pedicure, and sure enough, we go in to inspect, we'll remove those jet screens, and we'll remove the filter screen, and biofilm mold is there, so yeah, it's possible you did get an infection from your pedicure, you know? So, tattoo shops, another spectrum of, you know, kind of modifying yourself to adapt to the operator, because they're always swearing. They're always telling you that they know more than you do, right? Don't touch my things, you're contaminating my things. So that's another thing we had to deal with too, is just adapting to your operator and your environment. I think that's important as a health inspector. I have a story about picking up stool samples, because that's much of the thing that we do. Being in the region of Peel, we'll see a lot of travel-related salmonella typhi cases come through, so we'd have to do follow-up stool samples. And a colleague of mine was picking up a stool sample. Little did she know the case submitted the stool sample in the paper bag instead of the vial. So she had to get that retested. She didn't realize. But yeah, so in conclusion, like I said, Ryerson gave us that base. You guys like that story? She wasn't happy. She's like, I knew, you know, the bag felt heavy. But so mental note, always look in the bag before you bring it to the office. Yeah. Yeah, so Ryerson gave me the tools that I needed to begin my career, and I must say that I really, really enjoy my job, and I love what I do. That's it.
Thank you, Tula. I don't have tattoos. I think I will never go to the spa again. I'm not going to touch the stools now.